Previously, we have talked about a hypothesis test about one population parameters. One population parameters. And what we have talked about so far is the z-test or the one population z-test. Let's correct that. There we go. One pop z-test so that it will be short. Now, remember that in one population z-test, it should meet one of the two conditions, either that the sample size is greater than 30, or if the sample size is less than 30, it should be normally distributed. Normally distributed. However, there are cases wherein we will get an n smaller than 30, but it's not normally distributed. Normally distributed. And in these cases, we cannot use z-test, the one population z-test. Instead, we will have a different kind of test called the one sample t-test. Now, what is the difference between the two? One population z-test is based from the normal distribution. The normal distribution is usually accredited with the variable z. That's why here, it has to be normally distributed if it's less than 30. If it's greater than 30, we apply the central limit theorem, which is also related to the normal distribution. However, the one sample t-test is related to what we call the student t-distribution. What is this student t-distribution? The student t-distribution is a distribution similar to the normal distribution. It is also a continuous probability distribution that somehow looks like the normal curve. Just forgive my drawing here. However, there are some similarities and differences between the student t-distribution and the normal distribution. What is similar about the student t-distribution and the normal distribution is that this is still the mean, the median, and the mode at the same time. They're centered at 0. However, one big difference is that the variance of this is greater than 1. Greater than 1. Unlike in the normal distribution wherein more or less it's less than 1, here it's greater than 1, the variance. Another one is that the t-distribution is not the normal distribution wherein there is a standard one. This is actually a family of distributions. Meaning, when we talk of a student t-distribution, there is more than one distribution that we are going to talk about. And because there are many, the traditional way is looking at them at a table, but since we have computers, it will be the one to do the computation for us. Also, the student t-distribution gets close to the normal distribution as n, or the sample size, increases. So that's why the t-distribution is another way to help us assume properties in the normal distribution if our sample size is large enough. But if it is not large enough, even though it is not large enough, it can still assume some of the properties of the normal distribution. That's why this is the one being used. Also, do remember that the student t-distribution works in the concept of degrees of freedom. What is this degrees of freedom? We noted a while ago that the student t-distribution is a family of distribution. And to choose which among the family to use, we need the concept of degrees of freedom. What do we mean when we say degrees of freedom? There, we got that fixed. When we say degrees of freedom, this is the number of values that can vary after a sample statistic has been computed. Statistic has been computed. What do we mean by this? Say for example, we have 5 numbers. And the mean of these 5 numbers is 10. The 4 here can be any number. It can be any number. However, this number is fixed because we want our mean to be 10. So once these 4 values are chosen, this should be fixed. And once we change another one here, this will also be changed. And these 4 are what we call the degrees of freedom, because these are the ones that can vary, can change, but the last one is fixed once those numbers that vary are already chosen for a specific statistic. And these degrees of freedom is the one that chooses which t-distribution will be used in a specific problem. But again, it will be the computer that will be computing this for us. So again, we will have the one sample t-test to know whether the sample is the same as the population mean if n is less than 30. In the next video, we're going now to start our hypothesis test using the one sample t-test.